Hello everyone. Today we're going to be painting the Nightmare from the Nolzur's miniature line. I don't know what wave this is. I probably should know things like that, but I don't know what wave. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Today we're going to try something I've never done before, a completely clear Nightmare. Now, I've been playing D&D for a long time, and I've played a lot of video games where nightmares are in there. And I have an idea today. We're going to be using some yellow ink to start off. That's going to be the base. I'm using Vallejo and Army Painter, the D&D line. Then I'm going to be dry brushing this color is called Rust Monster. For everyone who's not using that, Rust Monster is going to be lava orange, pretty close to flame orange. I do believe it's called flame orange for for any other brand. You can look up the compatibility charts online. Then I'm going to be using Dragonfire Red. That's going to really highlight the outer part. I'm going to dry brush that as well. For Army Painter, that is their Pure Red or Bloody Red in Vallejo. I purposely like the Vallejo line and the Army Painter line. The reason why is I think it's great to be able to put out as much as I want with the starter bottles. I'm not a big fan of the pots. Doesn't mean I won't change my mind if I get sponsorship from one of those from those companies that have the little pots. Yet, oh there it is. There's my finger. Then I also have on deck some red ink, and I have some crimson, Cambion Crimson, which is gonna be like a dragon red. We're gonna have that on deck just in case. And then I'm gonna finish off by dry brushing black. The idea is to have the body to look like it's on fire underneath, and then the cooler parts are gonna be charred black. I've got a couple of big brushes for dry brushing. I have a smaller one to kind of get into more details because it's not a huge figurine, it's large, but I also want to get in detail when I have yellow and red. And I think the big brush I'll use for the black, because I want the black to kind of streak across and not completely covered up because I want light to be able to go through it. Unfortunately, I think if Nolzur's made like an elite line that had the ability to hide a battery under here, then ran a cable up and there was a little light in there, and they'd charge like 15-20 bucks for that, I know I'd pay for it. And then I have some smaller brushes on deck for like the eyes, the mouth, things like that. But today will be a complete test to see how well this works. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And then as I'm doing this, I'll also kind of read some facts about the Nightmare and just kind of talk about what's going on. All right, so first I'm going to put the yellow ink in here. And now inks are going to be different than your washes. You have a lot of people. I've had people ask me the difference between a wash and the ink. Ink, you can see, is just kind of watered down paint. What that's going to do is if you see right there on the side, it's going to stain the plastic so it still keeps its translucency, if that's a word. And then what that does is you can see it's going to just completely, it's going to stain, but it's going to still keep the translucency. That's our new word of the day. My friend Lyndon would say that's a made-up word, and he's probably right. This is going to be really easy because I'm going to go ahead and just cover all the clear plastic. And what that's going to do is, like I said, it's going to stain the horse, or horsey, if you're my friend TJ. And when it stains that plastic, I want that base to be nice and yellow. What that's going to do is I want the base of the horse to essentially, like, the yellow is the hottest part, and I have an idea for the actual think I said the word base a lot, but that's okay. I'm going to say it again. But the base down here. Now, I purposely don't care if I screw up my little handle here, like $10, and adding paint to it. And I think in some circles, if you have a clean one of those little Citadel handles, I'm using Citadel handle, they don't respect you as a painter. I don't know. I just got into the hobby of painting about a year ago. So get his little butt, get his belly. Okay, then I don't want to wet the brush down because this is going to be dry brushing a lot. So I just want to get the excess moisture off and the excess paint. Now remember, since these will be bleeding a lot together, that's going to be fine. And you say use almost all the ink. You see how it left that stain mark around it? That's what inks do. Washes are going to be your diluted paint, but they're going to have kind of a darkness to them to add shadowing effect. So if you were to use a wash in here, it wouldn't be as bright and vibrant. It would be very dull and dark. And I think that's what a lot of people, I didn't know that at first. When I started doing the clear plastics, they didn't pop out as much as I wanted to. All right, I think he's looking good. The biggest thing to watch out for is pooling. Now you want pooling to happen in the cracks right here because we're going to dry brush on there the black, and I think that's what's, I want the black to only hit the high parts, and I want the inner parts to be still yellow because yellow is going to be the base of the fire because that's the hottest part. So I want the internal part of the horse to stay yellow. And I should have had my fan ready to go and plugged in. I think, let me see if my fan is ready to go and if it's plugged in. And survey says, nope, it's not plugged in. Well, that's another time I'll have to have a fan. And what that'll do is it'll kind of help dry it. So I'm just gonna blow on it to kind of get it to dry off. Because the problem with inks and washes, if it's wet when you try to apply another one, they kind of mix together and run together, and they became a pooling effect. They kind of do a mixing part, and that's not what we want here. We want the yellow to set. Then we're going to do is we're going to dry brush with the lava orange or rust monster if you're using the D&D. Lava orange is the army painter color, and like I said, you can find up online the compatibility charts for other brands, Citadel, Vallejo, things like that. And what we'll do is we'll dry brush the actual paint using lava orange, and what that'll do is that I want this to be completely set. So when we're dry brushing, we're not going to pool together. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of let it sit there for a minute. I'm going to get it out actually out of the stand so we can get some airflow in there. I'm going to read some facts about the nightmare. So it's funny is the nightmare appears in a cloud of rolling smoke. Its mane, tail, and hooves are wreathed in flame. The creature's unearthly black form moves with supernatural speed and vanishing in a cloud of brimstone as quickly as it appeared. The really cool thing about nightmares, which I like to have, I'm really excited about having a mini form, is I really like the fact that you're able to use them as a steed. So when I DM campaigns, I DM games, if a necromancer or someone who's like a blackguard or oathbreaker or some kind of evil player, maybe evil NPC, but not only just evil, but they just like a darker individual that wants to kind of keep that darkness to them, I think that they always should have nightmares on them. So the problem with inks and washes, they take a little bit of time to dry, but that's okay. We'll just try to blow on to get it. See, I want also the ground to be yellow, because I'm going to kind of try to make that like a lava, like it's running over a lava field. I did it with my fire elemental, and it worked out really well. So I'm just going to drink real fast. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to dry brush the lava orange now. So, for those who aren't familiar with dry brushing is simply you're going to get the paint out into your palette, and you're just going to use a dry brush. A lot of times Citadel, other companies will actually put on the dry brush itself. They'll say dry right there. And what that's designed to do is you want the brush to be dry, and you want to load it up with paint. You want to get all that paint off of it. Okay, see how more to do? See how it turns now to accenting? And you want the paint to be up in the bristles, not the base of the bristles. And what that's going to do is only catch the higher parts. So it's not going to paint the whole, it's not going to coat the whole miniature. It's only going to do the raised parts. So you see like the muscles and such are going to be raised, and then up here the mane and the tail will be raised up, and you'll catch the tips versus just paint coating the whole thing. So we're going to go ahead and start dry brushing the mane. You see how now it's starting to take like an orangish tint to it, because that's going to simulate the fire. So I just want to get the flames first. And I'm just getting just the flames first. And you see right there, see how the flames are now starting to get an orange hue to them? And then we'll just do the tail. But see, the ink is still a little wet, too wet. We'll try add a little more paint. You see really what now. It's all about building layers, okay? So now the hooves and the tail. See, now all of a sudden the hairs on the tail start to pop out. Okay? The mane, again, the mane's going to be fire. Now, we're going to go ahead and dry brush the body. I want a little more orange on here because I really want that orange to kind of poke out. And you see how the body is starting to take on that orangish flame. Now I don't want the body to be as prominent as the flames on the head and the tail. I want the tail to really, really pop. The reason why is when I dry brush the black on here, I want just the outer parts. I want it to look like the skin of the nightmare is kind of cooling and still on fire, moving as the horse moves. If that makes sense. My brain, it looks a certain way. And we'll see if we can get the reality. But see how it's starting to turn orange? See how you got the outer parts are the raised parts are getting orange hit. Then we're gonna load up this brush one more time, just to really let's get that base. Let's see if we can get the ground. This lava orange is going to really, 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 really add some texture to it. And add some, see, it's going to be a little wet, which is fine. Let's see if that a better angle, probably not. That's right, I'm still learning how to do all this video stuff. All right, so the color is going to be a base of yellow, okay? And then we're going to have red, or we have an orange, just kind of hitting the bases and the raising parts. So the hair, things like that. Just want to get a little more orange on him, on his face. Now we're going to let that one let that dry for a second. I'm going to plug in my... Alright, there we go. It's probably not a good video, but maybe it is. Who knows? Man down. Alright, we're going to let that kind of dry. And going back to kind of the lore of the creature, I like to, as a DM, people always ask me, like, when to use nightmares. I said nightmares are kind of good, like, to describe kind of how things are. Like, I like to use them as kind of to set the setting up for an actual, like, a campaign, like when you're in hell, or if you're in a nightmarish landscape riddled with evil, that you're gonna see nightmares are gonna be there. Okay, and instead of just like seeing horses roam the plains of, like, let's say, Lair of Hell or the Fire Elemental Plane, things like that, you want to use nightmares. You want to use those creatures, and then they can be bringers of you know, bad news and such. So like in dreams or nightmares, you know, again, the name is nightmare. Evil characters can use them. It's, as a DM, I tend to, you don't get to use nightmares a lot because if you run module stuff, but I think you see them a lot more in homebrew, because I think in homebrew, whenever someone sees a nightmare, they automatically they know they're neutral evil. They're fiends. They're not horses. They're gonna attack anything that moves. You know, they see, if a herd of them see you, they're not gonna just sit over there and eat their infernal grass. I mean, they're gonna come after you. They're there to get you and stuff like that. I think it's funny how I'll have paladins, like good aligned paladins, say, man, I wish I could write a nightmare and stuff. It's like, well, it's kind of counterintuitive to what, you know, you being a good aligned paladin and such. But if you're an evil aligned paladin, I would definitely consider you having that. So you notice how the hooves are more orange, the flames on the hoof. The body still has the yellowness to it, and the orange ruffles right here, the mane and the tail, are going to be where your orange is really going to be predominant, but the body's still mainly yellow with that orange hue to it. So that's the effect of dry brushing a paint on top of an ink. So washes, if I was using a yellow wash instead of yellow ink on this mini, it wouldn't be this translucent. You see, I can kind of see my finger right behind there. You still see kind of the movement. That's what an ink will do. It'll stain the plastic. Okay. Now we're gonna take some Dragonfire Red. Let's get that. I'm still learning the camera angles. So Dragonfire Red, which is Army Painter's Pure Red, and we're gonna load our palette up with that. And then we're going to load up our brush. And again, we're going to get rid of most of the paint. Now you see how right here, you see how the coating is happening? Oh, let me focus that. Go. See how the paint right here is thick? And it's just kind of brushing on right here. That's that shading effect. That's what we're looking for. And see how now all of a sudden the tail just came to life with the red. And the flames on the hooves. And what we're doing here in Paint World is we are what's known as building layers. I think, what does it matter if I used to think, what does it matter if you're just going to paint over it? Well, I've learned over the course of the year I've been painting and learning, trying to get good. I think that building layers, I see it now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of red as I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to take a little bit of red. I'm just going to get those hooves nice and red. The reason why is I don't want the hooves to be black. I want them to be red. I want the fire to be, that's the cooler part of the fire, the red. I'm off my own world. I'm going off camera here. I just want I want the hooves to be red. Because again, that's going to be the cooler part. It's still on fire, don't get me wrong, but I want the cooler part. And if you mess up like I just did, and you accidentally hit the arm, the leg, it's no big deal. Okay? And we might go in with a detail brush, and we'll do clean that brush off. We'll do the face. There we go. We'll do the face. Let's come over here. And we'll do the face, like the mouth and the eyes. We'll do it that red. But we want to dry brush it black. But you see that mane? See how it's nice? Now you have the yellow, red, and orange kind of really take hold. Put where light can see it. I think it'd be better if I did light like that. Nope. All right. That's okay. I'm learning. If this turns out to be something where people want me to do more, and I get more than one person viewing this, then I'll do that. Now, without wasting the paint, we're going to dry brush the base. Again, building those layers. Okay? Because we want the ground he's on, or she, we want the ground they're on to be just the epitome of heat, like lava. Okay. So that's that. And then so as I'm envisioning as he's running, the front side of his body, the raised parts are going to be cooling down. His internal temperature, the core, will be yellow. So you try not to get too much orange on the internal part. You know, a couple dry brushes on the body wouldn't hurt because you're adding layers and depth. You see how the body, I want to get the legs because the legs are hitting the wind. The wind's hitting the front partly, but I don't want to hit the back too much. I want to hit just the front. Whoops, I'm off my own world. See, I want the front of the legs, the chest, the face. I want that to be kind of a cooler fire rather than the whole thing. And just want to hit the mane. So see how that red really kind of pops out that fire? And the tail is away from the body. I want that to really. And if you want to, if you think that's too bright, you can put some more yellow on your brush and do all that fun stuff. But I think that's turning out just perfect. So now I'm going to clean off this brush. And we're going to see if I am worth watching, because we're going to dry brush some black on it. And fingers crossed this works out really good. So, you know what? I'm going to, it's still a little wet. I'm going to put that right here. I'm going to let it dry for a second. And we'll talk about some evil players that, not so much as evil, but maybe players that want to play a class that, I guess you should say evil. That's just the best way of doing it. So one of the things I do with my, I'm add a little more yellow. I think my yellow got a little lost. I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow ink right there. I'm just adding a little yellow ink. Not much. Whatever's left in the palette's fine. And I'll just make sure it's in there. I feel like Bob Ross right now. It's a happy little yellow. Happy little bush, happy little nightmare. But kind of going back to what I was talking about when it comes to evil players. I think as long as the players don't do PvP, or if they are PvP kind of people that you have an off session conversation that, hey, we're not going to do PvP in this scenario. And if they say, yeah, we're okay with PvP, if everyone's all okay with it, then, outline the parameters of what that PvP looks like. And then, yeah, let the players have fun. But that comes up a lot with DM questions I get. I don't get officially invited to, like, panels and such, but I've had a lot of people ask me that question, a lot of DMs ask me that question. So you see how the body now, see how the black is just gonna, I don't want to paint the whole body black. I just want the neck, just want the body to be black. Just to see that this part's cooling down. And the coolest parts. And since we focused on the layers, see, I want the yellow, and I want those other ones to kind of push through. I want the black body. Let me get a little more paint on here. This might work, this might not work. I'm liking it so far. It's definitely kind of getting the effect. And remember, be careful of hitting that main. You don't want to hit the main because we worked really hard to keep that main. And like I said, I want to keep the hooves nice and fiery red. Like, it's still on fire, but yeah. And then let's do the base. Now see, now that you added blackness to the base like this, I should hit one of the hooves. That's right, I can fix it. When you do that, it looks like the ground is kind of breaking apart underneath it, and kind of like the lava is kind of cooling as the nightmare is running across it. And you see now that the mane and the tail are still fiery effect, you still see the inner part is yellow. And let me try putting a light on here that will kind of help illuminate it. I think if Nolzur's did something like where they illuminated, you see how that body just kind of still glows underneath that yellow? I think that would have been, I think that was kind of I think it's like, I don't know if it's feasibly realistic, but someone smarter than me can probably do that. We're going to go ahead and put him back in his holder. And I'm going to let me get a smaller brush. One of the smaller brushes. Now I'm going to use a size 0 brush. And I'm going to get the red. And I'm going to try to, I want to get those eyes nice and red. See? Then I want to get in here. I want to make sure you guys can see this. get in here and I just want to get his mouth. A little more paint. I don't want to use ink in this one. I want to use paint. I want this to really pop out. I'm going to probably dry brush just a little bit of black just to get his teeth back up there. And then I want to get his nostrils. The best part about painting, if you make a mistake, you can just paint over it. And I do believe that that's a pretty easy nightmare. And I mean, if you're a smarter person than I am, maybe you can, if you want to highlight red right in there to signify like flames come, you know, kind of coming out and stuff like that. Animals tend to be a little easier because they tend to, you know, I just noticed he's got some cracks right here. Let's see if we can highlight. Let's get a little more paint. Let's see if what that does. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's going to really kind of pop out. Yes. If you want to leave in the comments below. Whoops. It's alright, just hold them. I don't have a large handle. I don't know why I don't buy a large handle. I don't want to mess up my dry brush. So I'm just going to get right the crevices. And see how that's now starting to pop out more? And then I'm going to get that. And again, I'm using Dragonfire Red. Okay. And just going to do his belly right here. And I'm trying not to like take over all the yellow, because again, the reason why we inked the base was that way it would still pop out yellow, because I want the internal body parts to stay looking pretty yellow. I don't want any rhyme or reason where the red is. I just want it to like, I want the body to feel, I want the body to look like it's breaking open. You know? Like it's, the log is kind of dying down. I think that turned out great. All right, let's do his other side now. The best part about this mini is they did a really good job of just kind of leaving, or actually, excuse me, I misspoke. Like putting the details in there, so when you do dry brush, I think that's what they were planning on you doing. That was a little bit too much. That's okay. I just wipe it off and look, went right in the recess. You see that red will contrast that black really nicely to show that kind of nightmarish effect, which I know they're nightmares. It's kind of silly constantly saying that, but that's the best term I could use for it. Let me get my Fine brushing the cracks. And I'm just finding all the little cracks and crevices. I really glad this turned out the way it did. I was a little nervous because I'm still, amateur is too nice a word to use for how good I am at this. But I've had a lot of friends tell me, hey, make some videos painting. I said, sure, I'll make a video of painting and see how it is. And the only disclaimer I have about that is you're probably going to hear my family cut in and stuff like that because I am a family man, a wife and 2 kids. And apparently I'm doing something right because they like to come in here and see what I'm doing. You probably heard my wife earlier ask me why I had the door shut. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to record something. She realized what was going on. She kind of moved the other way. Gave me a look like I'm sorry. So, I'm just want to get the red in there. And see how that base, that yellow with those little highlights of red, makes even the base just look like it's on fire. I don't think I need to. I do want to brush. Let me dry brush that. So when brushing, I would highly recommend you keep like a couple crappy little brushes. When they start like wearing out, don't throw them away. Keep them around, and what they'll do is sometimes you don't need a big giant dry brush. Sometimes you use a little tiny one just to get those teeth. See how the teeth came back? Anyway. See how the teeth are back now? Whoop, there it goes. So if you overpainted that, just get a little dry brush. It's one of your crappy old brushes. Keep them around, and that way you can dry brush the little details and such. Now, nightmares don't have pupils, so lucky me, I don't have to worry about that. Let's get some red on the back, though. That's a little vacant. And now I'm not trying to go into competitions and such. Maybe one day I might get there, but now, see, that didn't work. Okay, so we just want to find the natural crevices. And when you paint that natural crevice, see? And let me focus because it's not focusing. There you go. That looks to be a pretty solid nightmare. And then unfortunately your paper towel you wipe your brush on is going to be a little murdersome looking, but that's okay. And weird thing they've never done before, which is weird, if anyone knows why, they put the base in this little tiny baggie. So yeah, that's the base to sit on, and that's what it's going to look like. So I'll get some glue here. My local game shop's going to get a plug because their glue is well, I think they just market their glue on there, or they put their name on someone else's glue or whatever. Whatever the right word I'm supposed to use there, fill it in. All right. So I'm going to get glue on there. Nope. So, people always ask me, like, what do you keep around for stuff like that when you have a stopper bottle that's junked up and stuff? Boom. Always keep a paper clip around. Sometimes it's a little bit of a pain, but you get in there, fish it down, pop it out, and yeah, this bottle might need to be replaced soon. go. Lid on. We'll hold pressure about 10 seconds. And voila. A painted nightmare with a body of heat smoldering. Yeah. If you'll be seeing more videos from me, don't have a schedule just yet. We're still working on, website stuff and being like legitimate professionals. That's obviously a joke if you couldn't hear the sarcastic tones. But thanks for watching, and if you guys leave comments saying, hey, what you liked or didn't like, some suggestions, because I am, like I said, at best an amateur at this. Definitely can't wait to hear from you. All right, have a good one.